Okay, we are reading the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, and we're on the chapter called Festival at Surendra's House. I'm going to start at the top of page 449. The master went into an adjoining room. He's been talking to Niranjan, a very beloved disciple, young boy who came, soon to be Swami Niranjanananda. But he went into an adjoining room and began to talk with some devotees there. The master to M. Ah, how wonderful was the yearning of the gopis for Krishna. They were seized with divine madness at the very sight of the black tamala tree. Separation from Krishna created such a fire of anguish in Radha's heart that it dried up even the tears in her eyes. Her tears would disappear in steam. There were other times when nobody could notice the depth of her feeling. People do not notice the plunge of an elephant into a big lake. M. Yes, sir, that is true. Chaitanya, too, experienced a similar feeling. He mistook a forest for the sacred grove of Vrindavan, and the dark water of the ocean for the blue Jamuna. Master, if anyone has but a particle of such prema, what yearning, what love! Radha possessed not only 100% of divine love, but 125%. This is what it means to be intoxicated with ecstatic love of God. The sum and substance of the whole matter is that a man must love God, must be restless for him. It doesn't matter whether you believe in God with form or in God without form. You may or may not believe that God incarnates himself as a man, but you will realize him if you have that yearning. Then he himself will let you know what he is like. If you must be mad, why should you be mad for the things of the world? If you must be mad for God alone. Presently, Sri Ramakrishna returned to the main hall of the house. A big pillow was placed near him for his use. Before touching it, he said, Om Tat Sat, a sacred formula of the Hindu religion, meaning the Lord is the only reality. Perhaps the pillow had been used by many worldly people, and that was why he purified it in this way. Bhavanat, M., and other devotees sat near him. It was getting late, but there was no indication that the meal was going to be served. The master became impatient like a child and said, I don't see any sign of food. What's the matter? Where's Narendra? A devotee with a smile. Sir, Ram Babu is the manager of the feast. He is superintending everything. Master laughing, Oh, Ram is the manager. Then we know what to expect. A devotee, things like this always happen when he is the supervisor. All laugh. Master to the devotees, where is Surendra? What a nice disposition he has now. He's very outspoken. He isn't afraid to speak the truth. He is unstinting in his liberality. No one that goes to him for help comes away empty-handed. To him, you went to Bhagavan Das. He's a great Vaishnava devotee. What sort of man is he? M. He is very old now. I saw him at Kalna. It was night. He lay on a carpet, and a devotee fed him with food that had been offered to God. He can bear only if one speaks loud. He can hear only if one speaks loudly into his ear. Hearing me mention your name, he said, you have nothing to worry about. Bhavanat to M. You haven't been to Dakshineshwar for a long time. The master asked me about you and said one day, has M lost all taste for this place? Bhavanat laughed as he said these words. The master heard their conversation and said to M in a loving voice, "Yes, that is true. Why haven't you been to Dakshineshwar for such a long time?" M could only stammer some lame excuses. Just then, Mahimacharan arrived. He lived at Kasipur, near Calcutta. Mahimacharan held the master in great respect and was a frequent visitor at the temple garden. He was a man of independent means, having inherited some ancestral property. He devoted his time to religious thought and to the study of the scriptures. He was a man of some scholarship, having studied many books, both Sanskrit and English. M. Master to Mahima. "What is this? I see a steamship here." All laugh. "We expect here a small boat at the most, but a real steamship has arrived. But then I know, it's the rainy season." Laughter. The master was conversing with Mahimacharan. He asked him, "Isn't feeding people a kind of service to God? God exists in all beings as fire. To feed people is to offer oblations to that indwelling spirit. But then one shouldn't feed the wicked. I mean people who are entangled in gross worldliness and who have committed heinous crimes like adultery. Even the ground where such people sit becomes impure to a depth of 7 cubits. Once Hridoy fed a number of people at his native place. A good many of them were wicked. I said to Hridoy, 'Look here, if you feed such people, I shall leave your house at once.' To Mahima, 'I hear that you used to feed people, but now you don't give any feasts. Is it because your expenses have gone up?' Laughter. The meal was to be served on the south veranda of the house. Leaf plates were being placed on the floor. The master said to Mahimacharan, 'Please go there and see what they are doing. You may help them a little in serving the food, but I shouldn't ask you.' Mahimacharan said, 'Let them bring in the food, I shall see.' Hemming and hawing, he went towards the kitchen, but presently came back. Sri Ramakrishna and the devotees enjoyed the meal greatly. Afterwards he rested a while. About 2:00 in the afternoon, Pratap Chandra Mazumdar of the Brahmo Samaj arrived. He was a co-worker of Keshab Chandra Sen and had been to Europe and America in connection with the Brahmo missionary work. He greeted Sri Ramakrishna, and the master too bowed before him with his usual modesty. They were soon engaged in conversation. Pratap, I have been to Darjeeling recently for a change of air. Master, but your health hasn't much improved. What are you suffering from? Pratap, the same illness that Keshab died of. They began to talk about Keshab. Pratap said, even in boyhood, he showed non-attachment to worldly things, seldom making merry with other boys. He was a student in the Hindu college. At that time, he became friendly with Satyendra, and through him made the acquaintance of his father, Devendranath Tagore. Keshab cultivated bhakti, and at the same time practiced meditation. At times he would be so much overcome with divine love that he would become unconscious. The main purpose of his life was to introduce religion among householders. The conversation next turned to a certain Marhata lady. Pratap, some women of our country have been to England. This Marhata lady, who is very scholarly, also visited England. Later she embraced Christianity. Have you heard her name, sir? Master, no, but from what you say it seems to me that she has a desire for name and fame. That kind of egotism is not good. The feeling I am the doer is the outcome of ignorance. But the feeling that God does everything is due to knowledge. God alone is the doer. All others are mere instruments in his hands. The misfortune that befalls a man on account of his egotism can be realized if you only think of the condition of the calf. The calf says, Hama, Hama, that is, I, and just look at its misfortune. At times it is yoked to the plow and made to work in the field, from sunup to sundown, rain or shine. Again, it may be slaughtered by the butcher. In that case, the flesh is eaten and the skin tanned into hide. Excuse me. From the hide, shoes are made. People put on those shoes and walk on the rough ground. Still, that is not the end of its misfortunes. Drums are made from its skin and mercilessly beaten with sticks. At last, its entrails are made into strings for the bow used in carding cotton. When used by the carder, the string gives the sound to who, thou, thou. That is, it is thou, O Lord, it is thou. It no longer says, Hama, Hama, I. Only then does the calf's trouble come to an end, and it is liberated. It doesn't return to the world of action. Likewise, when the embodied soul says, O God, I am not the doer, thou art the doer. I am the machine and thou art its operator. Only then does its suffering of worldly life come to an end. Only then does it obtain liberation. It no longer has to be reborn in this world of action. A devotee. How can a man get rid of his ego? Master, you cannot get rid of it until you have realized God. If you find a person free from ego, then know for certain that he has seen God. Devotee, what, sir, are the signs of God vision? Master, yes, there are such signs. It is said in the Bhagavata that a man who has seen God behaves sometimes like a child, sometimes like a ghoul, sometimes like an inert thing, and sometimes like a madman. The man who has seen God becomes like a child. He is beyond the three gunas. He is unattached to any of them. He behaves like a ghoul, for he maintains the same attitude towards things holy and unholy. Again, like a madman, he sometimes laughs and sometimes weeps. Now he dresses himself like a dandy, and the next moment he goes entirely naked and roams about with his cloth under his arm. Therefore, he seems to be a lunatic. Again, at times he sits motionless like an inert thing. Devotee, does the ego disappear altogether after the realization of God? Master, yes. Sometimes God totally effaces the ego of his devotee, as in the state of samadhi. But in many cases, he keeps a trace of ego, but that doesn't injure anybody. It is like the ego of a child. A 5-year-old child no longer... A 5-year-old child no doubt says, I, but that ego doesn't harm anybody. At the touch of the philosopher's stone, steel is turned into gold. The steel sword becomes a sword of gold. The gold sword has the form of a sword, no doubt, but it cannot injure anyone. One cannot cut anything with a gold sword. To Pratap, you have been to England. Tell us what you saw there. Pratap, the English people worship what you call gold, money. Of course, there are also some good people in England, those who live an unattached life. But generally one finds there's a great display of rajas in everything. I saw the same thing in America. Master to Pratap. It is not in England alone that one sees attachment to worldly things. You see it everywhere. But remember that work is only the first step in spiritual life. God cannot be realized without sattva, love, discrimination, kindness, and so on. It is the very nature of rajas to involve a man in many worldly activities. That is why rajas degenerates into tamas. If a man is entangled in too many activities, he surely forgets God. He becomes more and more attached to lust and greed. But it is not possible for you to give up work altogether. Your very nature will lead you to it, whether you like it or not. Therefore, the scriptures ask you to work in a detached spirit. That is to say, not to crave the work's results. For example, you may perform devotions and worship and practice austerities, but your aim is not to earn people's recognition or to increase your merit. To work in such a spirit of detachment is known as karma yoga, but it is very difficult. We are living in the Kali Yuga, when one easily becomes attached to one's actions. You may think you are working in a detached spirit, but attachment creeps into the mind from nobody knows where. You may worship in the temple, or arrange a grand religious festival, or feed many poor and starving people. You may think that you have done all this without hankering after the results. But unknown to yourself, the desire for name and fame has somehow crept into your mind. Complete detachment from the results of action is possible only for one who has seen God. A devotee, then what is the way for those who have not seen God? Must they give up all the duties of the world? Master, the best path for this age is bhakti yoga, the path of bhakti prescribed by Narada, to sing the name and glories of God and pray to him with a longing heart. O God, give me knowledge, give me devotion, and reveal thyself to me. The path of karma is extremely difficult. Therefore one should pray, O God, make my duties fewer and fewer, and may I, through thy grace, do the few duties that thou givest me without any attachment to the results. May I have no desire to be involved in many activities. It is not possible to give up work altogether. Even to think or to meditate is a kind of work. As you develop love for God, your worldly activities become fewer and fewer of themselves, and you lose all interest in them. Can one who has tasted a drink made of sugar candy enjoy a drink made of ordinary molasses? A devotee. The English people always exhort us to be active. Isn't action the aim of life then? Master. No. The aim of life is the attainment of God. Work is only a preliminary step. It can never be the end. Even unselfish work is only a means. It is not the end. Shambhu Malik once said to me, "Please bless me, sir, that I may spend all my money for good purposes, such as building hospitals and dispensaries, making roads and digging wells." I said to him, "It will be good if you can do these things in a spirit of detachment, but that is very difficult. Whatever you may do, you must always remember that the aim of this life of yours is the attainment of God and not the building of hospitals and dispensaries. Suppose God appeared before you and said to you, 'Accept a boon from me.' Would you then ask him, 'O God, build me some hospitals and dispensaries?' Or would you rather not pray to him, 'O God, may I have pure love at thy lotus feet. May I have your uninterrupted vision. Hospitals, dispensaries, and all such things are unreal. God alone is real, and all else unreal. Furthermore, after realizing God, one feels that He alone is the doer, and we are but His instruments. Then why should we forget Him and destroy ourselves by being involved in too many activities? After realizing Him, one may, through His grace, become His instrument in building many hospitals and dispensaries. Therefore, I say again that work is only the first step. It can never be the goal of life. Devote yourself to spiritual practice and go forward. Through practice, you will advance more and more in the path of God. At last, you will come to know that God alone is real, and all else is illusory, and that the goal of life is the attainment of God. Once upon a time, a woodcutter went into a forest to chop wood. There, suddenly, he met a brahmachari. The holy man said to him, "My good man, go forward." On returning home, the woodcutter asked himself, "Why did the brahmachari tell me to go forward?" Some time passed. One day he remembered the brahmachari's words. He said to himself, "Today I shall go deeper into the forest." Going deep into the forest, he discovered innumerable sandalwood trees. He was very happy and returned with cartloads of sandalwood. He sold them in the market and became very rich. A few days later, he again remembered the words of the holy man, to go forward. He went deeper into the forest and discovered a silver mine near a river. This was even beyond his dreams. He dug out silver from the mine and sold it in the market. He got so much money that he didn't even know how much he had. A few more days passed. One day he thought, "The brahmachari didn't ask me to stop at the silver mine. He told me to go forward." This time, he went to the other side of the river and found a gold mine. Then he exclaimed, "Ah, just see, this is why he asked me to go forward." Again, a few days afterwards, he went still deeper into the forest and found heaps of diamonds and other precious gems. He took these also and became as rich as the God of wealth himself. Therefore, I say that, whatever you may do, you will find better and better things if you only go forward. You may feel a little ecstasy as the result of japa, but don't conclude from this that you have achieved everything in spiritual life. Work is by no means the goal of life. Go forward, and then you will be able to perform unselfish work. But again I say that it is most difficult to perform unselfish work. Therefore, with love and longing in your heart, pray to God. O God, grant me devotion at thy lotus feet and reduce my worldly duties. Please grant me the boon that the few duties I must do may be done in a detached spirit. If you go still further, you will realize God. You will see him. In time, you will converse with him. I think that's a fairly good place to stop because we're going to next go into the quarrels among the members of the Brahmo Samaj. So I think we'll stop there this evening. Any questions about anything that we've read? Any comments?
I do have a question.
Okay.
This is a question that I've seen a lot, asked to different monks and nuns, and I kind of want your take on it. But this passage, sometimes people say that it contradicts Swamiji's teachings. And that's a very bold claim because no teaching is monolithic. But on its face, when you read it, you're like, oh my God, I shouldn't be doing stuff. Like this karma yoga, is this what's useful for us? Is this harmful or helpful? It kind of instills a doubt. So I wanted to see, like, how have you challenged that perspective?
Well, as Ramakrishna said, you use karma yoga if you can get to the point where you do not feel that you are the doer. You have to work. No one can sit and not work. As he said, thinking, meditating, daydreaming, all of that is work. But it accomplishes very little and is extremely, for the most part, extremely self-oriented. Now, Swamiji, when he said the goal of life is to realize God and to worship man as God, to take care of them. So you are really not, everything that you do for God. You do everything for other people. You are worshiping the God within them. So it all gets you past the point where you have to do the work. It's like bhakti yoga. You practice devotion, you practice love, you practice singing to the Lord, chanting his name, japa, and eventually all of that leads to the realization when those things also drop away. The work drops away, all of the outward signs of devotion drop away, the rituals of worship are not that necessary, because everything you do is worship to God. Like when Ramakrishna was in the temple in Dakshineshwar, and he couldn't do the rituals in the prescribed manner. He was putting the flower on his own head. He was doing things that many of the priests were saying was sacrilegious. But it's the interior, I don't want to say it's the thought that counts, because that's kind of demeaning it, but it's the interior feeling that you have, the feeling of devotion that you have when you do anything, like even when you put up the broom after you've swept the floor. Holy Mother said you have to honor everything in your, take care of your tools, take care of, I mean, when all of life becomes worship and you don't think of yourself or what you're gaining or what you're accomplishing, it becomes a pure act of love and worship, everything that you do. Then you're right close to God realization. Yeah. Does that help?
Yes, it definitely does.
Okay, John?
Well, my original question until I heard Ganga was about the use of the term cubit, the measure of cubit, why they were using that. That's an Egyptian and Jewish term, amazing. But the interesting thing to me is Holy Mother did mention that, when it came to renunciation, that Ramakrishna kind of went overboard, as all of these avatars do, in one specific area. And the quote from Vivekananda I love, that gives me a little bit of that. It says, have all you want, have more, but know the truth. It seems to allow everything.
There is no end to what you can realize when you realize God. Because God is. Infinite, all-powerful, everything. So you cannot reach the limit. You just keep going forward and realizing more and more and more until you become one with and know that.
Okay, but on the simple question, though, did the Indians use the cubit as a measure? I find that very strange to hear that in the liturgy.
I have no idea. I don't know. It's kind of like, for me, it's like how many hands high are a horse. I don't know why they do that.
It comes from a Latin word which means elbow, and it's a measure from the elbow to the hand, which is 18 inches. So I'm absolutely shocked to hear this in the middle of this Indian religious thing. Anyhow, just a thought.
Gunga, did you have another question?
No, I was trying to see what a cubit looked like. Sorry, I had to turn my camera off.
Okay. Anyone else have any other questions or comments? Okay, tomorrow, Christmas Eve, Frajaprana will be giving a talk on Jesus and Mary, and we will have a kind of like a coffee social afterwards at 12. The talk will be on Zoom and YouTube. In the evening, any of you that would like to join us, we're having our sing-along carols immediately after Vespers, which they'll probably start about 6:15, 6:20. And we'll have readings from the Gospels and sing-along carols. And as long as you don't have your microphones on, you can sing with us. We tried singing on Zoom once, and it doesn't work. Everyone's in a different place. But you're welcome to sing at home with us. Then, Christmas Day, we'll have Christ Puja at 11:30, and that will be on Zoom and YouTube. So you're welcome to join us for that. Okay? And we will end with next Wednesday we'll have the Akhandananda book again at 5. We'll end with a chant. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Merry Christmas to everyone, and we'll see you before New Year, hopefully, and have a wonderful holiday. Okay? We'll see you.